I just had to reload the page. It was confused. I have one of those welcome pages on where just say, hey, things will begin around 7 or something, and I have it flashing all of the logos for each of the member clubs and a couple of copies of the GLAAC logo in there. So it makes a nice little title thing. If yeah, well, did I give out the YouTube URL? Let's do chat. Get that over here. I'll stick the YouTube URL there. Participants. There we go. I found that if you're doing these things from a dual screen setup, it's easier just to put everything else on the second screen and have your Zoom window only in the one screen. It works out rather nice. Hi, Brian. Here's the URL. Copy link address. This is like Communications Central here, man. Phones and screens and Zooms. So that luminance filter you were talking about, Brian, are those, I assume those are meant to not block all the stuff you actually want to see.
Yeah, they only block the very edges of the visual spectrum. If you look at one, if you take a look through it, it's pretty much clear.
Okay.
It's pretty clear. Yeah, you can see it lets through 95% of the light, 98, but yeah, so it won't take away much. And but
it's only on those end wavelengths, I guess?
Yeah, it's the deep red and the violet.
Okay. Yeah, that would probably get rid of halos. I just, like, with some of the stuff in the nebula, I wonder how much that would affect that. Only on the edges?
There? Nope. But I would just...
yeah, find one used or whatever. But
yeah, find one used. See if you L3, because their L1 is really wide. It cuts very little. Then the L2 and the L3.
Okay.
But I just tried Photoshop. I failed.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the thing there. I mean, Astronomy Tools didn't do any better, so whatever their technique was, that didn't work there. But I'm not actually all that worried about it. Which actually, yeah, my background is that picture. That's what we're talking about, Bob. Getting rid of those halos. This is from the $250 experiment. So one of those Orion 120 millimeter short tube refractors that you can. Well, they raised the price $10, so now it's $260. Cost me just as much for the hardware and the focus motors and crap like that. So.
Well,
but it does a nice job.
I'm sending you a fantastic tutorial on doing this. I just found from Sky Telescope from 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So, been there, done that. People have done this, and I'm sending it now. So
well,
there you go.
I'll look through that tonight then. I was actually planning on getting out the Astro PC, and I have to get it out every couple of weeks just to do Windows upgrades and software upgrades, that kind of stuff anyway. So I figure I was like, well, we'll just do that and maybe load up Nina and get my cameras and other stuff loaded into the thing and figure out what's going on. So I do want to try out that Nina just because it seems to kind of organize my mess into a little neater pile anyway. And it's all in one console, which with all of the, I mean, Don Swetsick has got me turned on to the plate solvers, which sound like a great idea. I installed one, but it seems like it's not a great match for what I'm doing. So I send it off to do a plate solve, and it never comes back. So it's like, well, that's not very useful in real time. So, but there's another one that's supposed to be very fast. It's ASTAP, I think, is the acronym, And it's supposed to do some live stacking as well, which is like, well, that'd be an interesting thing because I can't find any live stacking abilities in Nina. So, which is one of the things that like Don Switzik and I have been kind of like, that's pretty handy for, figuring out, it's like, have you got the levels right? Have you got the exposure right? And you can tweak that and, restart the live stack and get kind of a preview before you get everything going. So, oh, let's see. It's probably time to say the clock is a ticking.
It's always ticking.
Well, I set up, like the lowbrows, I've got that the image flip through. It's like a slideshow, and I set that up for the GLAAC meeting that I'm recording, and said, well, it's going to start around 7 o'clock. So,
All right.
hey, it's Marcus. Welcome. Thought you'd slip in the back door, huh?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Where are you located today?
Today I am coming home from a Meyer trip. I am going to hang my bird feeder, and I am starting the bird feeding thing to see. Let's see what happens.
Squirrels will come.
Yeah, if I hang it, they will come. I have a friend that gave me lots and lots of bird seed, and I'm like, well, I got to do something with this. It's like 3 big bags. So I figured out a way to deal with it. Get a feeder.
Get some way to chase away the squirrels?
Oh, the squirrels will attack this thing, eat the birds, or
Blue
the birds
jays.
will attack the squirrels. It'll be fun. We'll find out as it goes. There were lots of different designs, and I said, I need one for loose seed. So I just got a basic one.
Yeah.
Well, Adrian, if you want to talk about that, I've been feeding birds for decades, and I not only feed birds, but I also feed big birds, turkeys, and I throw out sunflower seeds and corn, and I live out in the wilderness out here in Genoa Township in Louisa County, and I get turkeys through my yard all day long, my backyard. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of good things about feeding birds. You get to put out a suet feeder also, and you'll get downy woodpeckers and red-bellied woodpeckers also. So very
Cool.
colorful. Anyway, moving right along here.
I'll have to get another feeder with a suet kick on it then. So I am listening in. I know, John, you're going to talk about the 501c3
I
update.
think
Really quickly, we did get the check. Brian, if you're here, I have the check in my possession, and today I was made officially the WAS treasurer, so I will be depositing it.
so we have an account now?
We do have an account. Well, you have had an account, but now I have access to it. So I
Okay.
can completely embezzle those funds if I felt like going to jail.
Well, that'll make a lot
Is this
of
being
sense.
recorded?
This is being recorded.
Why, yes, it
I was
is.
gonna say that'll make the bookkeeping a lot simpler, Adrian, to do that.
We can officially cook the books because the treasurer of WAS is
Okay.
also the president of GLAAC. So
Okay, Adrian, just real briefly, have you established the account with Comerica?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I was holding off because my understanding was there were some other things you needed to do.
Okay. Well, I have a couple questions here right off the bat. I need a little information about how WAC, the Warren Astronomy Club, filed regarding the sequestered GLAAC account. Whether they included whether WAC did file returns. I imagine they're 501c3 that they did file a return, and how they accounted for the money that was sequestered in the GLAAC account.
I will have to get that for you because those are tax returns. That's the one thing I have not been told about.
Okay.
So I will get that. I'll get information about the tax returns.
Yes.
I do know that they made them separate accounts so that they're dealt with separately, but they're all at Bank of America.
Okay, well, I have a number of questions there that are germane to that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those out in an email to you and address that directly to you so that we can explore all of those questions, because this our initial filing it has quite a few gaps here where we need some information.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to have to make a statement of program service accomplishments and exempt purposes, and in my way of thinking, and if anyone has any additions, please speak up. But our sole program service was the astronomy at the beach event, defined by those dates, and in using the resources that we paid for, that Jeff paid for through Zoom.
Yep.
And
Then Bob Tremblay also, if you're here, Bob.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. I gotta submit some things to you.
We'll get
All
that.
I can actually reimburse everybody now.
Yeah, and
Was and GLAAC.
yeah, we're gonna have to keep a very careful record of that. Were there any? Did YouTube cost us anything, Jeff?
No, all the services we're doing through YouTube are the free stuff. They haven't clamped down on me yet, so until they do, it's freebie all the way.
Your only expenses then were for the 5 Zoom accounts.
I think there were 6, but yeah.
6. Okay, so
Yep.
yeah, yours plus 5. Yes.
No, it was the 6. They were all GLAAC accounts.
They were all GLAAC accounts. Okay.
Right now, we're running on a U of M license, which is the reason we can't direct stream. For AATB, we needed to have our own GLAAC or our own Zoom licenses so that we could stream directly from Zoom to YouTube. Right now, I'm actually recording it, but there's an intermediate program that has to run to do that. So.
Let's see. So right now we have no, and our Zoom licenses have expired, correct?
Yeah, I only paid for the 1 month that we needed them. And they expired at the end, so I mean it was like $96 or something total, so it wasn't any big deal.
Something like about $16 or $17 a piece.
Yeah, I think it worked out to like $15.95 or something stupid like that. But
okay, and do you is GLAAC going to obtain its own Zoom license, or will we continue to use the U of M account?
I don't see any reason that for like our ordinary meetings and stuff, I don't see any reason we can't continue to use it the way it is.
I would agree.
For the, I mean, it's just a monthly ongoing fee. It's not a lot, but every dollar counts. $15 can buy, pizza for a night or something for presenters. I don't know, but yes. I think it worked out pretty well. Just timing the license purchase correctly so that we have them for 1 month and maybe a couple of days to clean everything up. It worked out really well last year, and they expired, and everything was perfect. So I would do that again unless anybody has any problems with that.
Okay, that was a good plan, and it worked well.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, the other questions that I have are specific to the Warren Athletic Club, or Warren Astronomy Club.
Don't let that out.
I got too many irons in the fire. Warren Astronomy Club accounting, and I'll direct those directly to Adrian, and he can look it up with respect to their books. We can get together on that. So that's everything about the Form 990EZ, which we have, which actually that form isn't required to be filed until the middle of May, and I expect to have that expedited well before that time.
That's a Form 99EZ, you said?
990EZ.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Is what we will be filing. And that concludes everything I have to say about our treasury and tax status
Okay.
issues.
Does that include the 503c3, 501c3
Yes,
stuff?
that's getting that
That's-
form filed and accepted will make us a 501c3 account.
Okay.
Or a 501c3 entity. It's very simple because fortunately we have no payments that we make to exempt non-charitable organizations. We have no paid officers or employees.
Well, until now, remember I'm the treasurer.
No paid.
Never mind, just joking.
Paid people. Yes. And also we have not had any rents, insurance expenses, and that's one thing. I mean, in the past, does anyone know if the GLAAC has taken out any separate insurance for the event?
Brian, do you know of anything? Because even when we were going live, I don't.
No, they've always relied on the Kensington.
So the DNR basically picked up the insurance liability for the event.
Yeah, that's one of the main issues which became a problem and why they moved.
Yes, from the metro parks.
Ah.
So insurance was never an issue. It was never purchased.
Okay, then one thing that we will have to look for and be mindful of, and I'll work at this out with Adrian, is if we have in-kind revenues that can be accountable. I don't think that that's going to be an issue because all of the services of the state park was natural resources were donated gratis. I don't think those are accountable. So I'll look into that though. That's a tax account thing. I'll get that straightened out. But
Okay.
Adrian,
I don't think we had anything donated to us other than this year. Brian, through your charitable foundation, $300. I think that's all that we would need to report.
Okay, well, I'll make a note of that then, and I'll get together with Brian to document that if that's required. So that's
Not required.
not required.
No tax write-off from that. Don't worry about it.
You did not take a tax write-off from that?
No. No, the tax write-off was taken when I established the giving account.
Okay, and what year was that? What year would that have been?
Oh, I set that up 4 years ago, probably 2016 or 17.
Okay.
I can get you whatever information you want about that account.
But I'm not thinking we're going to worry too much about it if there's no tax liability or it.
I'll look into that.
Anything off from it.
I'll look into that and I'll get directly with you, Brian, if there's a requirement for any documentation. So I've made a note of that, and that I think right now that covers everything that I need to say and do.
Okay. The only thing I got left on the agenda, because it was very, very short, was our financial and bookkeeping crap, and then basically talking about Astronomy at the Beach 21, September 24th and 25th. And the three items I got basically are a discussion about the vaccination status and kind of when our cutoff has got to be for whether we go live or not. And then I guess whether we got contacted the DNR about Island Lake State Park's availability for that weekend. I had Brian looking into that, but I don't know if that was formal or not. Anybody talked to Bridget lately or not? Okay.
Is that something that I need to do? To get together with Bridget to see what the DNR is? I'll do that. I'll contact Bridget to
Things
see
are
what.
changing. things are changing. So
Yeah.
it's good to talk with her. There's probably starting to talk about the summer.
Right.
But back when I spoke to her last, it was like, hey, you got nothing.
Good luck. Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, in case anyone hasn't followed along, the caseloads are starting to plummet. It's still bad. I mean, we're still leading the world in new cases,
Of
but
course.
the numbers are showing that the vaccinations appear to be helping big time. So we are looking at some improvement.
Date. Yeah, Island.
Uh-oh. I don't know if you all can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, we
Blah,
got
blah,
you.
blah.
I'm switching in and out of different networks or something because I'm moving around, but
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
okay. Yep.
Okay, so
Okay, that's out of the way.
Possibility that we may be looking at a hybrid event.
Okay, well, that's an action item for me. I will contact Bridget. I'll keep you up to date about what the DNR is saying about their ideas about the future.
Sounds good.
I guess between here and what's our cutoff? Basically, beginning of June, right?
Yeah, June sometime.
Yeah, that will be when we have to make a decision about which way to go, and conditions regarding the vaccination. If it looks like everybody's going to be up to speed by fall, then that's a possibility. You hold an in-person or a hybrid, but if things are going as slow as they are now and don't pick up, then it'll have to be determined at that time which way we go.
Yeah, one thing I would look closely in the next couple months, just looking at what's let go, basically what restrictions are relaxed around the country. If we're still masking, but social distancing, for instance, is relaxed, then that lends itself to a hybrid event. If everything is relaxed because we feel we've got the virus beat, then we're going to have to evaluate whether we can pull off an in-person event and what the scope of the in-person event will be. If we get nowhere in June and it's complicated and the variants of COVID prove to keep hospitals busier than we would like, we plan for
A virtual
an
event.
online event, and we don't worry so much about if things drastically improve in July and August. We just explain that well, it's the way it is. So
yeah, we have to make a call earlier to get everything lined up if it is going to be live and or online for that matter. So
Yes, we'll have to decide whether or not we can have a kissing booth.
yeah, and that's if social distancing is relaxed, but there's still masks. We
Right.
still can't have a kissing booth, so we're still looking at I'm thinking either way you look at it, we're looking at a component being online, whether it's the past talks from this past year being broadcast in a tent, or broadcast where people could use their phones to watch them, or
right.
or we announce the whole thing online. I think we'll know more in May.
Well,
in April and May.
Well, why don't we just say that at the June meeting that decision will be made and voted on.
Sure.
I think that's a good goal. We vote because we kind of did that last year. We kind of backed into it. We vote on whether to push forward with a live event or not in June, and so we just the next March, April, May. 3 months to watch the trends and see what happens.
June 10th. That should be, yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have a pretty good idea in May how things are going.
Correct.
There's, if we don't have considerable, if there's not a considerable change in things by May, then we see it. We see a strong trend there. So let's just keep ourselves aware of that. We got several meetings between then and now.
Yeah, yeah. The last thing is basically I have event tasks for what we're going to be doing. So I would say the online stuff. We should probably this is just me. I'm not going in out of order or in order or anything, but I would say we should be prepared for an online component regardless. Some of the out-of-town speakers, it worked out very well having them remote. And if that is a way to go, we could possibly bring in better speakers and not have them have travel expenses and blah, 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 blah. So I think concentrating on the online stuff is a good use of time early on, since we can do that anytime. Whereas tents and things like that, if we need those are going to have to come closer to that June 8th cutoff.
One thing about tents and the June date cutoff, I think we can anticipate, if we are going to have tents in September, I think we can anticipate being able to contract those in June. The tent business has been really slow.
Yeah.
Not as slow as restaurants, of course, but it's been really slow. And here's something, Adrian, perhaps we should get in touch with our tent supplier from the past and just see, first of all, if they still exist, and and tell them that
that's a reasonable question.
It is, and tell them that we're not going to be able to make a decision until June. So, in anticipation of making that decision about what kind of event we have, if it turns out that we can't contract tents at June, if they say, "Oh no, we're going to be, we're going to have everything committed by then, and we're going to sell off any inventory that we can't commit," we're going to keep the margins close, then that will make a decision or a difference in what kind of event we can have. So, Adrian, you had been in contact with our tent provider in the past, correct?
Yeah, I called him and talked with him, so I can do that again.
Yes, if you can just tell them that we're going to be unable, for obvious reasons, to make a decision about our need for tents until June. Maybe you can get some information about what, and tell them that we won't be able to make a decision until June. Don't, because they'll definitely want to get a deposit before then. So we're just tell them something like the DNR won't give us.
We can't schedule the date until then.
It's impossible. It's an act of God.
Or I could just tell them we're not going to make the decision because we don't know. We'll do what everyone else is doing, unfortunately. But true is we can't hold an event if we're not allowed to hold more than so many people. Yeah. And right now we are not.
Just tell them it's impossible for us to make a decision and a commitment. So
they haven't called me or talked to me about.
Oh no,
tent. So me calling up and starting some drama with them about that's not the way I'm going to do it. But I will just, I'll talk with them, see how they're doing first of all, and then make sure that the message gets across that if they're, if we're interested in their business, but cannot, we want them to be our supplier, but we can't make a decision.
Yeah, okay, that'll be fine.
Come 2022, we very likely will be calling them a lot earlier.
Oh, hell, we might not even be alive by then. That's a shit.
Real optimist there, aren't you, John?
Yeah.
Or we may not want to be alive by then. What the heck,
If we're going year by year, we just we can keep the contact with them just so that they know we haven't forgotten about them. But, they haven't been bothering us about, are you going to get a tent? Are you going to get a tent? I think they understand a lot of their customers are not. Some of their customers are moving forward with outdoor events. So they may have customers. So it's not a bad idea to see where they're at and make sure we're still on their radar. Because if not, then we'd have to find another tent company. So it makes sense.
Would it be useful just for I guess, Marcus and Dave? Have you got questions about what exactly we do at a normal one? Because the online one is obviously a whole bunch of online events. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the schedule for what we're doing. Usually, if we're doing the online one required a lot of I guess arm twisting, digging out people to speak, looking for things that would fit into a program for kids or what have you. Those are the kind of things we do for the online one. For an in-person event, we obviously got the telescope field, which Mike Ryan is our manager for that, for the large scopes anyway. Which usually there's
Big scopes.
big scopes. Sorry, I have to grunt that one out. And
Absolutely.
in 2019, I think we had over 70 telescope setups in that field along the beach and all the way up to the parking lot. And managing the large scopes is kind of a hassle because they need more room to set up. They often have larger vehicles to get their equipment in. And there's just more issues with the big guys, and of course, everybody wants their space and their clear view of the sky and that kind of thing. So,
is there any power available, or is everything operated off of batteries?
Battery, if you can do it, but some people had generators and were willing to share, outlets if they were available. But generally in the park, there isn't electricity readily available. But the generators are quiet, and they placed them off in the distance with extension cords. So
There are no electrons, very few electrons for us.
Correct.
Very few, because of the park.
yeah, most of the setup. I don't the park itself has got a pavilion that's located. I guess it'd be on the south end of the beach. And there's probably some power you could steal out of there, but usually those get taken up by the tents, the lighting, sound systems, that kind of thing. The big tents were used for demonstrations, so if it's cloudy or if it's raining, you can hold something in those things in a live event, because obviously the telescopes aren't going to do you much good. But there were science demos, optical things, all kinds of junk in there. Had some vendors come in and show their stuff. Photographers like Brian, who will put up displays for artwork for sale and whatnot. So they were.
Who knows? I might do that too.
Yeah. But those tents basically required tables, chairs, tents, and the electricity to provide some lighting. And if they needed it, then they probably had octopus-like electrical things that nobody really wants to talk about. But out in the telescope field, run what you brung, and we try to keep generators to a minimum just because of the noise. They're not real pleasant to be around.
How do you advertise the event?
Brian.
We've been doing the event for this will be the 25th year.
Oh, really?
This is the 25th
Wow.
year.
That's worth putting into minutes.
And we've had almost 75,000 satisfied customers. So people hear from a variety of ways, but I would say the biggest, other than just friends and family of telescope people, it would be schools and teachers. So the schools and teachers in the area there, within like 10 miles, pretty much know about this event, and the parents and the teachers. So that's our number one way of getting the word out.
Okay.
Well, and because we're an affiliation of, was it up to 9 or 10 clubs, we send out the words to all of those club officers who will dissipate, materials, URLs, whatever we can, get the word out via them. So I would say in southeastern Michigan, the astronomy community is well connected, and then the schools and community groups and whatnot are pretty well covered. And Brian's list is pretty extensive. I don't recall how many people you said were on it, but it seemed like it got around to everybody.
It gets around to all the science teachers in Southeast Michigan at least once or twice.
Here, just parenthetically, we have our association is 12 organizations.
Oh,
looking
okay.
Looking at the website right now. if they're all still on board.
I would
So-
assume so.
But that of course includes the Department of Natural Resources. But everybody counts.
They're just as important as some of the clubs. So
Vastly important. Yeah. Okay.
So, is
So-
there notes for what you guys have done so far? It's a little bit late to this one. But.
what was that, Dave? Sorry.
Yeah, do you have notes in terms of what you've done so far? Is this your first meeting for this year?
No, we basically have got meetings every month. We can get you. I'm thinking about it. It's like our minutes and all that. I don't think those are in the public directory, but we can put those online. If you're interested, I can send you a list of URLs to get to. They're all in Google Docs, at least for the last year and a half or so here.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Do
Yeah,
we
Dave,
need those linked to on the website?
You
Are they
know-
going to be public?
That would be a good idea. Why don't I send you that thing, Bob? And
All right.
we should have those things online, at that site.
Yes, we should.
I like that
Just to
idea.
let you know, there's not much information in there past last September.
Yeah.
Or
What is that?
Well-
Resources, I guess. No,
Well,
I say a new
Actually-
category.
minutes of the board meetings, I think, might be somewhat trivial in some respects, but perhaps where we stand in terms of our planning would be a good idea. Perhaps, Jeff, you could send the minutes directly to Dave. The rest of us have it on Google Docs.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you basically a list of links to the Google Docs, which is kind of how I distribute them anyway. But yeah, that'd be fine. If you're a volunteer, you get to look at them.
Well, Dave's a real valuable volunteer. He can.
Oh, I know.
Dave's
He's got his lowbrow hat on, isn't that?
Oh, it's a Michigan hat, sorry.
It's a Michigan hat, but same
Yeah,
thing.
that's close enough.
Kind of. I think not to load you up too much, Jeff, but if on our website, if we could just have some kind of an update about where we stand, that we're waiting to see
Okay.
how things progress. But we will have an event in 2021, and the dates we've already set the event dates. So that might be helpful. I don't know how many people look at our website, but it should be there in case.
Many tens, I'm sure.
Yeah, in case we reference it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying basically we'd on the website we'd like a current status?
Sure.
Just as like this is what we're doing now.
At least have the date up there that we've established.
I've already put that on there today. Save the date. Just added that.
Oh, super. And perhaps that just the date, and we can establish what kind of an event it will be as we make decisions, as we're able to.
Sure.
But having the date's pretty important. Someone might look at it. That's good. Thanks, Bob.
Speaking of which, when
Many
I
times.
logged onto the website, it popped up with a query. It wanted me to confirm the default email address, which is currently webmaster@warrenastro.org. We're probably going to want to change that to a GLAAC email address, something that gets sent to me or distribution list, so somebody gets it.
So is that would have come from Jonathan Cade setting that up. So
Right.
do we continue to work with Jonathan on that, or do we?
I think Jonathan's getting burned out, and I think we should assume control of that. I have a note. I need to get the information from
Okay.
the domain admin from him. I believe I have access to that, at least some of it. I need to get the whole access from him. But do we have a GLAAC email address?
We have something. We have something
Contact.
set up.
It's
But I thought it was set up through
contacts@glac.org.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that one doesn't that goes to the group's IO list, doesn't it?
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
so.
It has in the past, yes.
That's
All right, so
probably
I-
as good as anything, actually, because that
Contact at GLAAC.org.
Yeah, and you're on the website, it's contact GLAAC. It just has a contact, email your message and send. It
Well,
doesn't say what the address is.
Yeah, I think that makes it out to the at UMich, the GLAAC board at UMich list that we have as well.
When I change that, it's going to send an email to that address asking for a confirmation with a confirmation link. Somebody's going to have to click on that.
Okay.
So I'm going to update that right now.
So we will have to talk to Shannon, I think, unless you've got access to it, Jeff. I think
I
that's
think I got it.
Jim Murphy set up.
Yeah, I think I have that because I've gotten things in the past for the contact GLAAC. I'm not really sure who gets that to name off names off the top of my head, but I thought it went to the M community group that Shannon set up, but I could be wrong. I have, as far as I know, I have admin to the Group IO site, so.
All right, I just changed it, and there's a pending change of admin emails sent to that. So
I'm just going to refresh my my mail here and see how it comes up. Sometimes Google is a little behind on things. No, not there. Well, continue on. I guess the hunt for speakers is, I guess that's on right now. So if you got ideas or people that you know that would want to, is like, let's start talking about them and getting lists of people to contact. I'm sure scheduling will rule out some of them. But in the last, probably the last month or two, we have the bulk of our national speakers get aligned, and it might be nice to do that before it gets too close to the end of September. Notably, we got David Levy and Brother Guy on some of the big names. Was it Diane Hall?
Yes.
Is that the one that was out in New Mexico? I can't remember her
She
name.
did.
Dolores Hill.
Dolores.
Osiris Rex.
Yes.
And was that the binocular astronomy?
Yeah, she did the binocular astronomy.
Yeah, that was well received.
Yeah, and Dolores did the thing with the NASA project.
Osiris Rex.
Yeah,
That's right.
Osiris Rex. That's right. I saw that in a magazine recently too, the Sky and Telescope. I'm not seeing anything here, Bob, but it maybe they'll come later. I'll make sure I verify it as soon as I get it.
Okay.
Well, it says I'm still there. I guess for the new folks, if you just look at what the 2020 schedule was, that'll give you a really good idea of what we did and the kinds of things that we'll have, speakers, activities, what have you. And if you kind of think like all of the live demos that we had, in basically at 9 o'clock or after, generally we had live events that people from driveways or their own observatories, or Brian in his remote in New Mexico. That's when we had all the live viewing, when it was dark, basically. Mm-hmm. So in an in-person event, some of those talks might be going on in person in the tents in the afternoon, or before it gets dark. Whereas with an online thing, they can start in early afternoon or whatever, and then when it gets dark, that's when we switched all the live demos, as if you had telescopes out. But some of our most popular ones were put on by members of the clubs. Brian's thing in New Mexico is a great example. That was very popular both nights. Auni from the Lowbrows had an excellent H-alpha solar exhibit that lots of people attended. So,
Liam Finn was a kibitzer extraordinaire on the
yes.
thing he was on. So,
and frankly, it's like if you're knowledgeable about some of the the topics and all that, I think this year we're going to try to have. Last year we basically had the presenter, and the presenter was kind of responsible for hosting things as he could. And it turns out that's a bit much for a presenter to deal with. And it was useful having a knowledgeable person that could take questions and submit questions if they were done, electronically and not visibly. Just act as kind of a host for that. So if we could get a person to accompany every presentation, to field questions, to work whatever levers in the background we need to work, then that is very, very useful.
Yeah, well, Adrian did that with Ani, I think, and I did it with Don Swetzik.
Yeah.
I did it with all the headliners. Well, it's not only that. Every major conference that's been running on Zoom or on any platform has had technical staff standing by whose only job it was to make sure that everything ran smooth.
Yeah.
And I think we should adopt this. I hardly had anybody attend my Stellarium thing. I would be happy to be one of the technical standbys.
You do well at that.
Out of the limelight and making sure everything's running smooth.
Yeah.
We definitely need a few people, because if we have concurrent events, then we need as many people as concurrent events are going in order to accommodate it. And that way things are going to run smooth, in addition to having a 15-minute break in between each session so that there's time.
Yeah, this year I promise you the scheduling will be sane. I intend on having at least 30 minutes between any presentation that's on the same license. That was one of the bottlenecks that we ran into last year. Easy to fix, but I'm going to work out the schedule a little differently as to how you prioritize those things. So
it was actually a little worse than that. We lost the Flint Planetarium to whatever happened, where some other license. Yeah, it was pretty much hijacked for a different thing. Well, there were some people that were engaged with the gentleman from the Flint Planetarium, and we lost them. So it was, Well,
we had an event
that happened.
We had one event that started late, and it affected the following one because they were scheduled too closely. And we can avoid those kinds of mishaps off the bat.
The 30-minute scheduling is a good idea, because no event should run 30 minutes over. Maybe an event will run 5 minutes over.
Exactly.
You account for that, but you still have enough time to prepare for the next event and make sure that no one's going to steal the license. So,
and it does take a few minutes to get the next presenter set up. You want to make sure you get in early to make sure everything's set up and running for them, so they hit the ground running as well. It just makes it look more professional.
No, I would agree.
So that's kind of a non-issue, but that was one thing that really it kind of stopped up the works last time. Not badly, we recovered, but
I'm going to disagree with you and say it was not a non-issue. It was an issue. Well, it was one that we covered pretty well.
It was an issue, but we adapted to cover it, and it only bit us negatively a couple of times. There was some
I was the one that was bit. Yeah, I was the one that was bit every time it hit. So no, it's not a simple issue.
My session,
and we had headliners. So
my Friday night session was canceled.
I'm not saying that the job that we did to cover it wasn't good. It was we did fix it.
Yeah.
But the few times we did have the problem, I saw it front and center and was not happy. So, my thing is I think we already have in place a protection so that we don't run into that issue again. So it's not that, we're going to see it, but it's, definitely, running back to back, we know better now because that was our first time. So, it's just we call that one the way it is. It was an issue, especially for me, but not, one that we did a good job in overcoming. So, I don't want it to be downplayed because we lost people because of that. They waited, to see something, and because it didn't start, they ended up going off and doing some other things. I've had some messages from people that said, "Oh, we waited for 10 minutes and it didn't happen, so we left." So there were kids, other potential people that were, the telescope wasn't working and they walked away to go find something else to do. So yeah, let's just be, let's just be mindful of that when if we're doing something online,
Well,
do your best to make sure it's, we get that thing up and running.
I think that's probably one of the to-do items, is to make sure we recruit enough volunteers, helpers, whatever you want to call them, to be on hand to accompany these presentations. And a lot of times you don't necessarily have to be an expert at anything, just be able to field questions and go with the material.
Absolutely. I would add to that, just being cordial to whomever the speaker was. One good thing that we had, and I ended up having it to do with all the major speakers, was making sure they were comfortable, making sure that their presentation, they would just start the presentation, make sure it works, communicating on email, doing all the things you had to do to make sure that they were ready to present. And that's it may be a hidden skill, but it's a pretty important one. It's, it isn't like, okay, you're here, good, fine.
To be
I'm
honest,
go off somewhere, good luck. You don't leave them high and dry.
To be honest, this year may go a little smoother on the online thing, simply because everybody's been using these systems for over a year on a regular basis. Zoom is no longer a mystery program to most people. That will help us. It may not solve everything, but it will help our job somewhat.
No, I agree. Zoom, a lot of people, a lot of businesses have used Zoom and are used to the idea of things like breakout rooms. They're used to the capabilities that Zoom provides. Others, like Microsoft, has Teams. There's even Blue Jeans. There are some people that are still using that under the covers. Red Hat is using that under the covers.
Here's a thought. With Zoom, we got away with a $15 license because we didn't have anybody logging into the meeting like we have here to be highly interactive. If we wanted to offer an interactive one, maybe one of the to-do tasks is to look at some of those other systems that have come out. The Microsoft Teams and the Google Meet come to mind. So if we wanted to offer an interactive, a more interactive meeting, like, seminar, webinar, whatever you want to call it, that maybe that's a possibility to get in a little more interactivity.
I've seen it used. It worked out. I think the Zoom's version of the webinar worked out pretty well for those that, if I joined the webinar and there was somebody, they would just read comments as they went. And if it's, for a lot of our talks, if it's like David Levy is going to talk to us about, some of his experiences in comet hunting, or, things like that, a webinar might be a good idea. But if somebody wants to do something interactive, then
that's kind of what I had in mind, because right now we use Zoom basically as a way to broadcast one guy's computer to a wide number of people. And once we have that, then the Zoom sessions were basically piped to YouTube, and YouTube is where everybody picked up the public feed, if you will. But it was not very interactive if you were watching the feed. The thought that I had is, like, if we wanted to offer something where the public could interact, we have to buy larger licenses to use Zoom, and that's more of a problem in that case. And maybe it's a case where you buy one 500-seat Zoom license and the other ones can be 50, or with a minimum or whatever. But that's something to consider. Is like, if we wanted to have a couple of interactive sessions, the software licensing is going to be a little steeper for that. But we're only buying 1 month,
that's something I think we could probably discuss, and we don't have to take up much more time here. I know some of the other...
I'm putting it in the notes just to say we talked about it.
Yeah, we can put it... Yeah, because there's more thoughts that could go around that. I like the idea of having, like, say, Brother Guy's talk would be used for the major license. Some of the other talks would be used for the smaller licenses. So there's a capacity seating. I don't think we came close to 100 in any of the talks that we had. We had some that
No, we did.
50.
If we did.
So
No, we did.
those are licenses. Those are licenses that we could use. That
Well, yeah.
That we would have enough people interactive, and then the problems with the YouTube licenses being jumped wouldn't be. That would eliminate that problem. So it's something to think about. I think we'll talk more about it offline, maybe throw some emails out with some ideas and queue it up for next meeting to, since we're deciding in June whether we're going to do any kind of live event, we've got some time to discuss it. But I say we go ahead and move on. Again, Jeff,
Sure.
Outstanding job with what you were doing with that, and Bob and Brian, outstanding jobs. There's gonna be a possibility that we may have a few telescopes to set up on site and a limited crowd, and everything else be online. So we'll have to discuss how that might look and how that might be controlled. Or
I think we were
managed.
calling that our hybrid event, where you have a bulk of the events are going to be online things, but there might be a limited access, in-person viewing over at Island Lake that maybe you have to sign up for or register for, something like that.
There'd be registrations to do stuff, and people were looking for registrations last year. Even if things are free, sometimes letting them register for them, that basically makes sure that, okay, I registered for it, so I'm going to go to it.
Yeah.
That may draw, more people into actually coming and staying this time. We had great, participation from the astronomy clubs, which is, it's good that our membership clubs came. But we're doing it. If we're doing it again, let's see if we can target more people to come in. We spread things on social media. So those are some thoughts.
I'm just thinking,
and maybe we should give others out there. I know, Jeff, you've got great thoughts, and you and I could go back and forth, which is why I was kind of saying, well, let's, we can take the thought offline. If anyone else has a quick thought about it before we let the topic go for tonight, feel free to jump in. It's not just me and Jeff. We're,
yeah. Please barge in.
I wanted to welcome Amit to our meeting. Glad to have you with us.
Where are you from, Amit? Actually, what club or where?
No, I am from the Lobros.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah, he's a
I'm sorry. There's a lot of people in there. I don't recognize names.
Oh, we're all such hermits now.
Yeah.
Well, I see
learning.
Marcus from the Lowbrows.
Yeah, I saw Marcus and Dave.
Good to see you, Marcus.
Sorry, Amit.
Great.
That's okay.
About what are the hours generally?
We generally start at 5 p.m. 3 p.m. with the solar viewing, and we go through. So there's 6 hours basically of programming, and then starting like 9 p.m. East Coast gets dark. We start setting up the telescopes, and then like Brian, who graciously volunteered to use his remote observatory. He has to get started around like 10:30 or 11 p.m. because that's when it's getting dark out in New Mexico. So we basically do live viewing from 9 p.m. until, and if the session is going well, midnight, 1 o'clock. It all depends on when the presenter wants to shut down his setup.
Yeah.
And what kind of weather contingency do you have?
We've got well, now we've actually built up some past programming for people to click on pre-recorded shows or pre-recorded content, and we count on the weather not being so bad out in New Mexico,
Yeah.
where at least Brian would be able to do.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a problem,
What we did
with
last
that-
year was basically we have 2 nights to deal with, and I think Friday night last year was the clear night, and we had all the live stuff out there. Saturday it was clear during the afternoon, but it clouded up right around 6 o'clock when things were starting to get rolling on the other stuff. So we packed it in for the telescopes that night. But as Adrian said, Brian ran. We had some other people that had shows ready in contingency. I did a small thing on processing my stuff, what I do when I process my images. So we filled our gaps and filled our programming, but it may not have been live demos because of the skies.
Yep.
Now, where is the location? I haven't done the homework to figure out
Oh.
exactly where the park is located.
The park is Island Lake State Park, and it's right off of I-96, just east of US 23. So it's literally across the freeway from Kensington Metro Park.
Yeah, Kensington Road off of 96 and you go south.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can nearly see the freeway from the park, so it's very close by.
Okay.
It's got a large beach, probably a couple 100 yards worth of actual waterfront, and a large field that kind of goes off in a pie shape. So you've got parking all the way around there. The DNR had put up light fences to keep headlights from shining on the telescopes. Some were effective, some weren't. And then basically people would cart their stuff from the cars down to the telescope field and set up wherever they felt like it. We try to encourage the clubs to group together so you had some semblance of, hey, now you're looking at the lowbrows, or now you're looking at, WAS or Ford or whoever. Last year, or 2019, I ended up setting up in the middle of the GM and Ford group, so I got to know those guys a little bit. So, but the live event is a ball, but this COVID thing has really thrown a wrench into the whole thing.
I miss it.
Yeah, I had a ball that night, and the one telescope where we set up. Mine probably too close to the main tent where they were doing the talks and things like that. So when people got out and it was getting dark, the very first one they hit was my telescope. So all night we had this stream of people, and we probably had at least 30 or 40 people in line from dark until my battery went dead around 11:30. So, and we basically handled every person as if they were the only person in the field. We made sure that they saw everything that they were supposed to see. Some people will come up, they take a glance, and they kind of ho-hum. It's like, did you see it or not? And it's like, well, not really. It was like, there's people in line. No. We took time with them. My wife, Gretchen, she worked the line so that people coming up, she told them where to stand and how to stand and how not to look into the thing. And that worked really well, having an assistant with each telescope so they, manage the line and whatnot. But we had a ball, and everybody came away just amazed. We had some kids that were, 3, 4 years old that were just like, and it's like seeing that, and as well as some, 85, 90-year-old, elderly people who we had a little small step ladder, and they stepped up on it, and they got to see Jupiter or Saturn for the very first time, and they were just astounded. It's like, I'm so glad I came. It's like, I never would have seen this otherwise, So it was a lot of those kinds of stories, and I'm sorry that my battery went dead, but it was a good time.
Yeah,
That's my advantage. I'm primitive. No batteries. Actually, just straight through. I love the public events. That's what I do. Other than reading abstruse cosmology, it's the public viewing that I do. I'm not technical at all, so lots of fun.
He says that now, but he's running Zoom just fine the last fall. So.
Oh yeah. In fact, I have my own Zoom license. I run the Zoom meetings for the Brighton Art Guild. It's And Jeff has been I want to mention that Jeff was very helpful getting me up to speed on Zoom and helping with that. So thanks again, Jeff.
And, frankly, if the new guys wanted to host these things, we've got everything documented as far as like tutorials for presenters and, the hosts and all that to help run the meetings. So training this time around would be a lot easier if you're not familiar with how to do that stuff and how to set it up. Obviously, they'll have to be modified for whatever we do this year, but it worked out real well so that the handouts were helpful to refer to, and it got people off and running pretty well. And then we made sure we did a tutorial with each and every presenter to make sure they were comfortable with what we were trying to do as well. And I would say across the board, everybody was very satisfied with the people that I managed anyway, with how everything is run. They all they had to do was basically run their thing and punch a button, and they were off and running. So we made it as easy as possible for them, and it worked out well.
Well, Adrian, I think we've covered the agenda here, haven't we?
Unless anybody's got anything else,
so.
That's all I could think of to put in there.
Yeah, I think we're good. Unless there's any other questions, thanks to the visitors that came.
Yep.
And I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, of course, if folks want to stay around afterwards to chat. The room will be open. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let's go.
John seconded.
Seconded.
Okay.
I already got it in the notes.
It's been
Too
moved
late.
and seconded.
Yep.
All in favor?
Eyeball.
Aye.
Hey, Marcus.
Anybody opposed? It doesn't matter. Meeting is adjourned.
It's
Thank you
very
all for coming out. Thanks to all the visitors, and please join us next month. And as we get closer to deciding how the event will be, and if you have any suggestions, let us know.
Yep. Next meeting
Good to
is
see
March
everyone.
11th.
Yep.
all right.
All right, there I go. All right, bye now.
Oh, there he
Marcus,
is.
are you? Do you live in the Ann Arbor Ypsi area?
Yes. I live between Geddes and Clark.
Excellent.
It's on the north side of the lake.
Right.
And your background is? Did you get a degree in engineering?
Well, my background is engineering, chemical engineering, and went to Purdue and Michigan State. And I've really been into photography most of my life.
Excellent. Now, when you were at Purdue and you learned chemical engineering, did you have the red transport phenomena textbook? Bird, Stewart, and Lightfoot?
No, I think I was before that.
Oh, darn. Well, I got a chemical engineering degree from Wisconsin, and they Wisconsin guys wrote that book in the 70s or in the late 60s or 70s.
No, that was I was a Perry's guy, and the big catalog and unit operations.
Yep. No, my wife and I are both chemical engineers, but
wonderful.
Neither of us pursued the career in a traditional sense.
Yeah, I worked for Union Carbide for many years, and then I left them and moved to Ford Motor Company, where I just recently, 20 years ago, I retired.
Excellent.
So
let me, I'm happy to help you on your astrophotography journey. And I see some fancy equipment behind you. But you are barking up the right tree, and I'm like a hammer, and I hit the nail whenever people start talking about astrophotography and equipment or skies or this or that. I keep coming back to it's all post-processing.
Right, and that's my issue.
And how do you know how much it costs to become a really good post-processor?
Probably
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just
But
time.
that's
Just time.
the one thing that people, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I'd rather go buy some cool gizmo, but darn it, you got to take the time, because I go back and I look at my pictures I took 10 years ago from my backyard that were just crap. I can process them and they look pretty darn good today.
Yeah. Getting good data while you're out in the field. If you're collecting good data, you can do the process. I've redone some of my own from a year ago or 2 years ago, and it's like, wow, I caught it. I just couldn't process my way to reveal any of it, and it's pretty amazing when you pull up your old stuff. So I got in the habit of not throwing away anything.
Yeah, well, my problem right now as a newbie is I'm not sure I'm getting good data, number one. And number two, I hear on all these forums that you can add to the data, and it's not clear to me how you do that. Does it mean...
I've taken stuff from this year that I've added to 4 years ago, and within certain parameters, you can do that. But things can't, it works best if things don't change a lot, right? The same equipment, right? The same camera, the same telescope. That makes it easy if you can do that.
But what about exposure and ISO or paint?
Yeah.
Do they have to be the same? Or?
No, they don't. No. As long as your telescope and your camera is the same, all these other parameters, you can still combine them.
Yeah. The program I use is called AstroPixel Processor, and they actually do a plate solve and line up all your images. I have an image. I have my mount that I took with up till maybe a month ago was an Alt-AZ mount, and I was looking up at M57, and it's right up above. So the rotation was very severe, and most of the free software, it couldn't figure it out. And this AstroPixel processor, because it does plate solving for each of those frames and looks at the star field, it managed to put that thing back together. Now the edges, it looks like it's a deck of cards, but the central portion of the image was intact, and it turned out really, really well. So the software can do some backflips for you, but getting that data, having everything in focus, the exposure is roughly correct. That particular program actually does mosaics and whatnot too, which is part of the reason it was so good at fitting everything together. But that's a software thing. I didn't lift a finger. I just had to pay $30 or something, or $60 to get the program.
And that's what
AstroPixel Processor. There's free versions. They give you I think a 45-day trial or something, like 30-day trial. But it's made for stacking and putting your stuff together. It has some post-processing capability, but frankly, you'd be better off going to Photoshop or one of those. I've kind of done all my stacking and that kind of stuff in APP, and then taken its resultant, the stacked image, and then gone over to Photoshop or GIMP, whatever your photo tool is that you like. And
I've been using Photoshop for years, primarily photography.
Two toolboxes. There's a company called Pro Digital, and there's two toolboxes that they make that are excellent. Brian told me about the first one. It's called Astronomy Tools. And I think
I just got that one.
Okay, that one's like $25. It's money well spent. The other one that I'm really thrilled with, being in Ypsilanti, was a package they call AstroFlat Pro, which I think it's like $36, and it pretty much eliminates any of the light pollution and vignetting that you get, being here in Ypsilanti, to the point where, my background here. That was a nice milky white background before I used the AstroFlat Pro on it, and it's beautiful now. And it's got.
No, I have to second that. AstroFlat Pro is a very good very good plug-in.
It's worth every penny.
Yeah, but and Marcus was communicating with me earlier. The book, the Bracken book, is just a wonderful foundation.
Yes.
It's a concrete foundation. So you read the book, get your concrete foundation, then you can build off that.
Yeah. I actually going to be rereading the thing soon because Brian's introduced me to some techniques he does in Photoshop using the curves tool. And I got to go back and review that Bracken book and just start from the start. And it's like, what am I not doing that I should be in my post-processing chain? So, and it's maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. It's not real big. It's full color, so you can see what they're doing in each level. It's a really good book, very readable too.
Yeah, I had pulled it up on Amazon to look at it earlier tonight, but I didn't do it until it didn't finish. When I got Brian's comment, that kind of convinced me I should go ahead and order it.
And I will be using Bracken's book as kind of a guide because I'm doing the lowbrow talk in April, right, on processing.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
that'll be good.
I'm not going to teach how to, okay? I'm not going to teach detailed tricks, but I am going to teach the foundation. Here are the 8 steps you got to go through, and if you skip any, you're going to have some problems.
You'll be scratching your head for hours. It's like, that turned out so well the first time. What the heck?
I got the 8 steps, and that's really what I'm going to cover.
Okay, good.
And rest assured, we will be recording that, so you can review it later.
Review it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's really the foundation. Anything off that is, we can definitely do specific sessions on, like you said, eliminating light pollution. What are the best ways, if you got the light pollution, how do you get rid of that? That's worth a whole session.
Yeah.
I tried the astronomy tools point there for eliminating light pollution, but I couldn't get it to work right. Or maybe it was working and I didn't understand how it was working.
Go to their website. They've got a tutorial on how to do it. And if you step through that, and frankly, I've forgotten some of the steps and I keep going back to their site to remember it, but there is some settings that you have to look for a certain view before you move to the next step in that tool set, but it does work. Honestly, the AstroFlat Pro, I don't use the light pollution in astronomy tools anymore for that particular purpose because the AstroFlat just is like, this is a miracle.
AstroFlat Pro is great. Yeah. AstroFlat Pro beats the program I've been using for 8 years.
And is that a Photoshop plugin or is it?
Yes. I had been using a Photoshop plugin called Gradient Exterminator.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's kind of you got to really study up on their tutorials.
Actually, one of the I don't know, last couple of months ago, the Lowbrow newsletter has got a review that I did of all 3 of the packages. And it was, I tried to include images. I don't know how well they are going to come out on the PDFs exactly, now that I think back on it. But that was really interesting to see the differences in the artifacts and things that each one put in. But as a member, you should be able to go onto the website with the password and dig up those past issues.
Okay. That's good.
I'm not touting my own horn, but it was interesting just to see the 3 packages together. And they did do remarkably different things. I think the Gradient Exterminator, if I remember correctly, had some absolute darkness around the main object that it was made me scratch my head. It's like, what's that all about? I lost all the background stars next to it.
It can mess up big time if you do. Yeah,
it's a little finicky.
It's 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it's not. You got to believe something 10 years old is going to be dominated by something new.
Yeah. Well, software moves ahead all the time, so.
Always.
I think that within the next 5 years, we're going to see some amazing programs, which I think we'll have to pay for.
Yeah.
That will be doing all this post-processing very easily for us.
Yeah.
It's coming. It has to. There are too many customers.
Well,
there's too many of us willing to spend $500 for a program if it did it all, right? If you
Yeah.
did it all and made a great shot and did all you could do, stretched those pixels as much as they could be stretched to make their pictures as best as they could be, wouldn't you spend $500 for that program?
Well,
would.
it's a time saver because every hour you spend outdoors taking
One click.
shots.
Yeah,
I've
one
spent a
click.
day.
Yeah.
I spent a day learning Photoshop curves and masks and looking at various things. I spent entire 6 hours.
Yeah, I probably spend
And,
2-3 times the amount of hours processing a given image versus taking the raw data.
So, I predict that we're going to see a lot, and it's going to come because of cameras, right? Or phones. Phones. They're doing a whole lot. Phones are amazing now, and a lot of these new products, these new standalone telescopes that take pictures, right? The Stellina, right? And they're coming, and they're just going to explode.
Yeah,
And
and
the technology is moving very fast, and chip size is still getting smaller and smaller, and they're capturing more data.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm going to do my homework, and I'll get that book, and
read the book.
watch
It's a
out
good-
for my emails as I have questions.
Okay, happy to
Okay.
answer emails.
yeah.
Thanks.
And frankly, any of the lowbrows, they're all great people, and if they can answer questions, they often will.
Okay.
And probably more than you really want at times.
But that's all right.
Yeah, it's a good
You
bunch.
can always use a delete key if necessary.
There you
Right.
go.
Okay.
All right, well, good night.
All right.
Yep.
Good night.
Have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
Clear skies.